Hello and good evening, good day, guys. Sorry about yesterday. We had an issue. I actually had an issue. For some reason, my Google Meet app wasn't coming up. I think maybe my system was a bit overloaded. So, as promised, I'm going to do a video of the class that we're supposed to have yesterday. So, continuing from where we stopped, if you remember in the last class, we were talking about JavaScript string methods. All right, we're talking about JavaScript string methods, and we are going to continue with that today. In the last class, we discussed methods like art method, char art method, charcoal art method, and some other methods. So today we're going to continue with that. All right. So just give me a few minutes. I'm going to pull up something. All right. So we are going to continue with the JavaScript string methods that we started out last week. And for this week, we're going to be looking at another very interesting JavaScript method. All right. So this JavaScript method is there are actually three of them, and what they do basically is to help you to extract strings from a larger body of strings. Very important technique to learn as a developer. The ability to extract strings. Now, I found that in interviews, one of the things they do sometimes is to give you coding quizzes or challenges for you to extract strings. All right, they'll say create a code snippet that extracts duplicate characters from strings and then returns the number of duplicates that are there, or remove the duplicates. So you need to be able to know how to extract strings from another string to be able to handle such coding challenges. So today we will look at three new methods that help us with extracting strings from larger strings. And those methods are slice, substring, and substr. I like to call it substr. So substr. So if you remember in the last class, we looked at a very important property of strings, which is the length property. And we saw that the length property allows us to know the number of characters in a string. Then we went on to look at the art method, the char art method, and the charcoal art. Now, let me just reiterate this because it's a very important thing that we need to know the difference between properties and methods. In JavaScript, almost everything behaves like an object. I say behaves like an object because we also have objects as a data type in JavaScript. But essentially, objects have properties and have methods, regardless of the programming language. The whole idea of objects in programming is that objects have methods and have properties. So, what are properties? Properties are like the fixed features of an object. So, let's use, for example, a car, right? Let's use a car as an object. So you would think of the color of the car as a property, the brand of the car as a property, the engine capacity as a property, the model number as a property. Then for methods, you think of things like start. Every car has the ability to start, has the ability to stop, can speed up, can accelerate, can slow down or decelerate. So when you think actions that an object can do, then those are like the methods. But then when you think of features, those are the properties. Let's do one more example. So take a human person, for example. So for the person's properties, you could think of the person's height, think of the person's skin tone, you think of the person's age. So those are his properties. All right. But then when you want to think of methods, you think of the person's ability to jump, person's ability to run, person's ability to speak, and all of that. So being able to understand properties and methods in JavaScript is very key for you to go forward. So we looked at methods for extracting string characters in the last class. But essentially, these methods actually were just to give us the positions, all right, the positions of the characters. So, like the add method takes a one parameter, it takes a position parameter, and that position parameter is basically the index position of that character. So it returns the character at that position. So the add method, the char add method, the char code add method, and finally the access, this array-like access. All of those helps to return characters at specific index positions in your string. We did that in the last class. And we also noted that there's a subtle difference between the art method and the char art. They are similar in a lot of ways, they are similar, but there's a subtle difference between the art method and the char art. We also talked about that difference. So I'm going to leave it as an assignment for you guys. Anybody who remembers that slight difference, drop the answer in the Slack channel. Don't drop it in the general front-end class channel. Drop it in my personal channel, in my DM, so that I know that you remember what we did in the last class. The difference between the art method of strings and the char art method. It's a very small but very subtle difference. So today we'll look at another group of methods, and these methods are methods that extract strings. You know, the former methods, they extract characters in a string, all right? But the methods we'll be looking at today extract strings, or all right? They extract strings, parts of strings, and they return the parts of those strings. So let me do a quick illustration of what I mean, all right? Let me just pull up something there. So imagine that we have maybe some string. You know, strings are always within quotation marks. Let's say we have a, don't worry about how I'm writing it. My handwriting is very good. All right, so we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So this is a string. All right, this is string. This is not high heels. This is A, letter A, by the way. All right, so this is a string. Now, what these methods that are going to be able to do is to be able to slice off or cut off portions of these strings and return the portion back to us. So, for example, they'll cut off a particular at beginning at a particular point and stopping at a particular point. Then they will give us back the portion that was cut off, like C, D, E in the case here. So that's what this particular group of methods are going to be doing. Now, technically, they don't really cut off the from the existing string. What they do is they make a copy of the portion that is sliced from the starting and stopping. They make that copy and then return that copy to us. The original string remains the same. All right. So take your time and let that sink. So the original string remains the same. All right. So that's what we are going to be learning with these new strings. And there are three of them. There's slice, there's substring, and sub str. All right. So let's begin with the slice method. So what does it do? All right, so it's my favorite of the three. Slice extracts a part of a string and returns the extracted part in a new string. The method takes two parameters. Always remember, in the definition of a function or a method, remember the difference between a function and a method is that a method is a function that belongs to an object. All right. So when you are defining or creating a method or a function, you pass variables that are called parameters. All right, are called parameters. So this particular method, the slice method, takes two parameters. The first parameter is the start position, and the second is the end position. Now, there's a note here, a phrase that I want all of you to make a mental note of. Make a mental note of this phrase. End not included. We're going to talk about it very shortly. So just make a mental note of that. Now, let's see the first W3 schools examples of how to use the slice method. So they gave us a boilerplate HTML right here. They gave us a boilerplate HTML. So this boilerplate HTML is typically not really a complete HTML, because if we look at my VS Code, if you want to see a proper HTML, it will have a head element in it. In the root HTML, there are two major elements, the head element and the body element. So in a proper HTML, you have the head element that holds meta tags, and of course the title, and sometimes some styles, internal styles, and maybe scripts as well. So this gives some proper description to your website. So in a proper HTML file, you're going to have more than that. But on W3 Schools, it's kind of like a summarized or abridged version of an HTML file, basically just for the purpose of learning. All right, so we're going to stop and continue in the next video. So just hold on, we'll continue in the next video.